All right, going live in three, two, one. Oh, this is the Working Title Experience, episode number 13. And for this evening, we have another special guest on. That's going to be Olivia Lawton. Hi, Olivia. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Pretty good. So, you're a college student, is that right?
Yes.
So, what are you studying?
I'm currently studying graphic design. So that's going pretty interesting. I'm not 100% sure if I want to finalize with that, but that's what I'm doing for now.
Hmm. Now, just to let our viewers know, how long have you been doing this? Is this something that you wanted to do since you were younger? Is this something that you did when you moved in, just when you went to college, or what? How did that work out for you?
Well, I've been painting since forever. And my parents both got me really into art and crafts from a very young age. So I knew that I wanted to do something artistic. I tried to fit myself into a biologist mold because I really enjoy the environment as well. But I found that art was really, I just have to do art in my future, or else I just won't be passionate about it. So I chose graphic design because I think there's a lot of job opportunities in that field right now. Um, and it's something creative that I can do every day. So I think it's a good decision for now.
What kind of painting do you do? I mean, is it well? How would you describe the paintings that you've done?
Well, I use usually acrylic paint and I do it on just regular canvases. Um, And I usually do more psychedelic looks of paintings, which are really fun, or abstract paintings that I really like doing. But sometimes I use embroidery and thread or nail polish on it.
Okay, so where are you at right now? Are you in Florida? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why in Florida? What's going on there with you?
Well, my parents live here, so I just decided to kind of follow them.
Ah, okay. Is now how's Florida going right now? I heard that they were opening up the all the businesses. Or they had opened up? How did that work out?
I really just stay inside most of the time. The only time I ever go out is when I go grocery shopping on the weekends. But I have seen some places open, but they all have mask mandates, so that's pretty good.
Oh, okay. Oh, so okay. Florida itself though doesn't have that, right? It's just the stores they're forcing it on telling the customers they have to do it.
Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. So as far as other hobbies, what else do you like to do?
I really like cooking right now. Cooking is really really fun because it's kind of like you get in the zone and you get distracted from everything else that's going on in the world because you just have to think about what you're doing in the moment, or else your pot is going to boil over or you're going to burn something. So it's really fun to kind of distract yourself, and you also get a delicious meal at the end of the day. So
Hmm. Well, I have a saying that I can cook anything as long as it's scrambled and as long as it's eggs. Otherwise, I can't cook anything.
it's kind of like my dad and pasta. Yeah.
So as far as you have a couple of dogs, is that right?
Yes, I have a puppy named Beverly and a 3-year-old dog named Samson.
Hmm. So what kind of dogs are they?
They're both mutts, but they have a lot of energy, so we think that they're herding dogs, maybe
They're what? I'm sorry. What was that? They're herding dogs?
herding herding sheep,
Oh, herding.
that
Got
kind of thing. Yeah.
the and are they friendly? I mean, most of I have a my experience with dogs, unfortunately, is usually that I used to be a when I was much younger, I delivered papers, and they would often chase after me while I was trying to deliver the papers. So I have this seem to have an animosity of sorts with certain dogs.
That's fair. That's fair. My dog Beverly, she's scared of people sometimes, so she'll bark at them, but she doesn't have anything to back it up. But with Samson, he's a big sweetheart. He loves everybody he meets.
But how are they? Are they loud? Do they bark? Are they when they bark? Are they pretty loud?
They both have pretty big barks. If if Sammy barks, he sounds kind of like a guard dog, just because he's a bit bigger. But he doesn't usually bark because I feel like he kind of knows when to bark. But Beverly's a puppy, and so she doesn't have any filter. She doesn't know when to bark and when to like not bark. And she does bark a lot when like someone comes to the door or something. So she's a bit different. She just has to grow up a little bit.
Gotcha. How would you, let me run this by you. Um, I have a neighbor that has a dog, and they let their, but this has happened to me twice so far. The neighbor directly across from me, I live in a small, I guess you could call it, it's a small private road. There's four houses. My house is directly across from two others, and for some reason I don't know why I get this, but the neighbor directly across from me had two dogs. Oh, I heard something in the background there. Um, they had but they had two dogs, and they would constantly bark over and over to the point where they were barking into the evening hours, and like 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, I could still hear them barking. Have you ever had a situation like that?
Yeah, there's actually a dog like diagonal to our house, that sometimes their owners let them out and they bark really, really loud, like kind of all night, just like you said. Um, but luckily my dogs don't bark back or anything like that. And then
Mm.
the owners bring them in. So that's good.
The and the other neighbor that though eventually after about maybe I don't know maybe a half year to maybe 8 months or so, they eventually got rid of their dogs. I don't know what happened. So I was kind of relieved. The dogs seemed fine otherwise. They're just very loud. But then the neighbor recently next to them, they got two dogs. And now this neighbor, their dogs are barking very loudly, but they're not as loud as the other ones. The only thing I don't like is the fact that the dog has this, and I hate to say this because I hope the dog's okay, but he has this sickly sounding bark. It's almost like this. It's like I'm like, oh my god, what's wrong with that dog? And it's it's not
Oh,
it's not
that's
where the
sad.
it's not where the
Maybe,
what?
hmm?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, maybe it's just the way it sounds.
That's what I'm hoping. It looks like I think the people are pretty decent. I've never seen them do anything wrong to the dogs, and they look like they're healthy when they run around. But it's the sickly, the sound is just so sickly to me. It's like I just cringe when I hear it. And so but the thing is that the one nice thing about it is that they don't have their dogs out in the middle of the night at 1 or 2 in the morning. They usually bring their dogs inside. So
That's good. They sound like better owners than the previous. Was
oh,
that dog possibly like a French bulldog? Because I know that French bulldogs sound really, really weird sometimes. They sound like almost like definitely not a dog. They just sound really weird.
this the ones that make the one that makes there was two of them. I don't know if they both make that kind of a bark because I only heard one bark at a time. So it might be just the same one barking over and over again. But unfortunately, I don't know how to tell the difference between the breeds. So um, I can tell you it's a small dog. It's well relatively small. Probably if you had a regular size house cat, it'd probably be maybe two times the size of a regular house cat, I guess. So
Interesting. I'm not sure what kind of dog that would be, but maybe it is a French bulldog. They definitely sound just odd.
So, as far as let's go, if we could talk about some of your other interests that interest you. What are your favorite movies?
My top five favorite movies are The Princess Bride. I like all of the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and I grouped them all in one. Talladega Nights, Pride and Prejudice, and then Shrek.
Okay. Now, out of all those movies, I can tell you I've seen The Princess Bride and I've seen it a few times. I like that one. I saw Lord of the Rings, but I've kind of forgotten about it. So, and I tried to watch The Hobbit, and I couldn't get through the first movie. And I stopped watching it, and so I didn't see the other two parts of it. Talladega Nights, I've not seen. Pride and Prejudice, I've also not seen it, and I have seen Shrek at least once, and I like that one. So I definitely like the Lord of the Rings movies, even though I can't remember them very well. Um, and Shrek and the Princess Bride, I really like those as well. So, as far as the Princess Bride, what's your favorite aspect about that?
I think I've just like watched it for so long. Like I've been watching it since I was a kid. It's one of those comfort movies for me. I don't think I could pick like a favorite scene. Maybe the sword fight. That one's really, really. That's fun.
The
That's
one at
fun.
the Yeah, the one at the end where the man with the six fingers uh and I forget the name of the characters. I'm sure you would remember. Antonio, he's the one that says he's going to avenge his father, and he finally
Ini-
fights the guy with the six
Inigo,
fingers. What's that?
Inigo Montoya, I think his
Yes.
name is.
Yes, that's it. That's it. I couldn't remember. Yes. And
Um,
is that the
yeah,
sword fight you're referring to?
that one's really really good. It's very redeeming. But I was actually talking about the first one where he fights. Oh, what was his name? Wesley, I think.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that one. Would you can you remind me about that one?
Well, Wesley is he climbs up the mountain. He climbs up the cliffs of insanity, I think they were, and he gets to the top, and then he meets Inigo, and um, I think Inigo lets him rest, and they're talking, and they talk about the six-fingered man, and then they begin to sword fight, and it's supposed to be a fight to the death, um, and then they're like just kind of bantering through the sword fight, and it's really fun.
Okay, I remember that one now. I do remember now that you described it. Yes, yes. The now what about the character? I forget his name, but he would constantly say inconceivable.
Oh, I forget his name too. Um, yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I totally forget his name as well.
He at the time he was in I think he was in another popular TV show at the time. So I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but he was definitely I think a somewhat well-known character. The guy that plays Wesley, he eventually went on to play Men in Tights, right? Is that correct?
I believe so. I think I saw him on the cover, but I don't think I've ever seen the movie.
Okay, I've not seen that one either, so I was just trying to it seemed like it might have been kind of a similar role, so I wasn't sure. That's why I brought it up. So, I would definitely say The Princess Bride is a very good movie. I do like the old couple in the that live in the tree. Oh, and I can't remember their names now. I know the woman, she was in the TV show Taxi, and then what's his name with the comedian? I can't remember their names. It's the one where they go, "Bye, boys, have fun storming the castle."
Yeah, 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 and they're married in real life, which is really, really cute, or at least they were at the time.
Oh, were they? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, okay, yeah, I know the comedian's name. I just cannot. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't remember it. I have to look it up. Um,
Yeah, that was a good scene too.
the whole thing with what was they had to push they had to didn't they had to bring him back to life, wasn't that right? I can't remember how did that work exactly. They put suction cups
Yeah.
on him.
So he was in like I think it was just called the machine. And so he got most of the life taken out of him somehow. And so they brought him to the Miracle Max. That's what it was, Miracle Max. They brought him to Miracle Max. And he was like, he's only mostly dead. He's not all dead. So mostly dead is slightly alive. So then they can revive him with like a chocolate miracle pill, I guess.
Uh-huh. The yeah, the I'm remembering the scene. Um yeah, I mean the whole scene, actually the whole movie was really good. I guess there's nothing really memorable about that scene. I'm trying to remember still trying to remember the comedian's name. I just remember that being probably one of the funniest parts of the movie for me. So, um overall, I'd probably say that the entire movie, I give it like, if I had to rate it, I'd probably give it like definitely like a probably 9 out of 10, maybe.
Yeah, I would have to say the same. It's just such a flawless movie. I heard they were going to try to redo it, I
Oh,
think,
oh,
but then someone on Twitter, I think a celebrity on Twitter said, um, there's, he said something like, there's a rarity of perfect movies in this world. It would be a pity to damage this one. And so that was a really good reference to the movie about not remaking it because that would just be tragic, honestly.
yeah, and I'm tired of seeing these remakes that don't, it's like just to get something like a cash grab almost. It probably wouldn't be that good, I'm assuming. So,
Yeah.
hold on a second. I just brought up the name. No, I don't see it here. Miracle Max. Oh, Billy Crystal. That's who I could not remember his name. Billy Crystal. That's who it was. So, yeah, Billy Crystal was pretty pop. I don't even sure if he's doing anything else nowadays, but he was pretty popular back in the time when the movie came out. So,
Yeah,
Now,
I definitely know some of his comedy. I think I've seen one or two of his other like works, but I'm not quite sure.
gotcha. Now, Carol Kane was the other one. That was the wife. Um, and she was in the TV show Taxi. She played a character that was very similar in Taxi, as far as like the tone of her voice and everything. So it was very similar, that kind of comedic character that she was playing. So,
That's
um,
cool.
have you ever seen Taxi?
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
Okay. Okay. Taxi was, I would have to describe it as one of the predecessors to The Simpsons, because it has some similarities to The Simpsons early on, because one of the creators of the Simpsons was also the creators of one of the creators of Taxi. Not Sam Simon, but darn it, another person I'm forgetting the name of. So, um, now I want to talk about Lord of the Rings. Now for me, that was kind of a forgettable movie series. I did see all three of them though when they were brand new at the theater. um, as far as how would you how would you rate the movies overall?
They're the kind of movies that you can watch them over and over again, but like things just continue to get revealed because you just have to like once you think about how things connect in the movies, you kind of like aha moment. You just like continue to make connections even if you've watched it like, you know, 7 or 8 times, which is really really fun. So I guess I would rate the entire franchise. I'd rate it a good 9.5 out of 10. I just like they're such good movies, and I really think that they could have been done so poorly. I think that there was just such a huge opportunity to do them poorly, if you know what I mean. Like if they had the wrong director, the wrong cast, everything could have been like totally different, and then it just wouldn't have been as good.
Hmm. The as far as the how accurate they are to the novel, did you read the novels?
I've not read the novels, but my parents did, and they said that I mean, it's pretty as accurate as you can get from, movies to books.
Hmm. And the one of the things that was really interesting was the effects that they used. I saw some making of videos. I don't know if you've seen any of these, where because some of the characters were are smaller than the others, um, such as the hobbits, obviously. They would what they would do is they would film at a very unique angle so that it looked like they're sitting right next to each other, but in reality they were like several feet away from each other. But the way the camera was positioned, it made it look like they were right next to each other, and just the one person was much smaller than the other. Have you seen any of that?
Yeah, actually, for one of my photography classes in high school, we were learning about perspective, and they showed some of the clips of I think it was the the wizard Gandalf. He was sitting on the wagon in that beginning scene, and then Frodo, I think, was sitting like way further away from him. But then when in the final shot, it looks like they're sitting right next to each other. So I think that's really really cool.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because that's exactly what I was thinking of. That scene, that's the one I remember seeing when I saw the making of. So, um, the so you're doing you do photography. Is that a how am I- how far is that something you really like, or is that something you're getting into?
Well, I did it a bit in high school, and it's not something that I actively like pursue, but I do use like some of the knowledge that I have to take pictures of like friends and family. So it's not like, it's not a huge hobby or anything. And I don't have like any like big expensive camera, but it is fun to do. So
Okay. Well, getting back to the Lord of the Rings, one of the actors that was in it was John Rhys Davis. Are you familiar with him?
probably from like the movie, but I don't know his name.
Okay, he played. I'm looking at. I looked it up here. Oh, that's weird. Wait a minute. Is that right? Okay, here it. He played. Is it? I know. I do not know how to pronounce this. Gimli. Gimli.
Gimli, yeah.
Gimli. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And John Rhys Davis is a very large man and very tall too. So, and when I saw him in the movie, it's like he's very small. It's like I thought that was pretty well. The perspective was done very well with his character. And John Rhys Davis is he's one of these actors that through I've seen in several different movies and TV shows, and so every time he pops up, he always stands out because I like his performances. And I was like looking at him, I was like, oh my goodness, he's so tiny in this one. So, um,
Yeah, it's really impressive. I was not expecting them to be able to like make people look so different and so just so much smaller than they really are. I think it's really impressive.
and now overall, I mean, as far as what kind of rating would you give the movies? I can't honestly give a rating because for me it's been too long, and like I said, I've kind of forgotten about the movies. But what would you give the rating on that on all three?
9.5 for sure. 9.5 out of 10. I just love the entire franchise. It's really good. Really well done.
Now, as far as The Hobbit goes, I've heard a lot of people say, like I said, I only watched part of it and I didn't finish part of the first one. I just stopped watching. Now, I'm not saying it was bad. I just lost interest. So, um, how do you feel about that? I've heard a lot of people say that it just wasn't as good as the Lord of the Rings. How do you feel about that?
Well, The Hobbit is like they they come before they predecess, I guess, Lord of the Rings. So it gives you some like perspective on what Lord of the Rings is about. I personally like them probably just as much. My mom likes them more than Lord of the Rings. Um, I think I have a little bit of bias though, just because I saw them when they first came out, and I was a baby when Lord of the Rings came out. So yeah, I couldn't like really see that one in theaters or anything. Um, so I do think that I have some bias with it, but I like it just as much.
Hmm. Now, as far as accuracy, I saw the I think it was the 1978 version of The Hobbit. I don't have you ever seen that one?
No, I have not.
It was a completely animated version of The Hobbit. And when it came out, it was it was basically people said it was supposed to be one of the most best animated cartoons ever made of the time, and it's pretty decent. I haven't seen. I think you can see the whole thing on YouTube. I don't think it's not as popular as it was when it first came out. It kind of the popularity kind of phased after a while. Um, but as far as the Hobbit itself, how would you? I mean, do you do you know how accurate anything? The thing that a lot of people said was kind of strange is why they took The Hobbit and made it into three movies when it was only one book. Yet the original Lord of the Rings was three books. They only made each one out of they made each one a single movie. If you look at it, obviously, if they're going to do it the same way they did The Hobbit, there would have been nine movies for the Lord of the Rings if they did it the same way. Do you think they stretched it out and made it too long in any way? The Hobbit, that is.
Well, I personally like every single detail that they put in. So I don't mind that it's three movies, but I do understand where people would be a little just kind of confused about that. I think it had more money than Lord of the Rings did, so they might have been able to put more details from the books in, and really get it like to a T. I mean, I wouldn't personally know just because I've never read The Hobbit, um, but I do understand people's kind of confusion about that. It makes sense.
And do you understand like I said, from what I remember, maybe I'm wrong on on how I'm remembering this, but I do remember a lot of people saying it just didn't hold up to the Lord of the Rings. Now, obviously, you said you're fine with it, but could you understand why people might say that?
Um, I guess it might be a bias thing as well, just because if people see Lord of the Rings first, they might be thinking, well, this one's way better. And then, having a prequel come out years later can sometimes put people off of the prequel itself because they kind of like the original, quote unquote, original more. So that makes sense. But also, if they see it from the Lord of the Rings first and then the Hobbit, which obviously I didn't get to do. There might be something that I'm missing that I don't realize or recognize from that situation, that they're kind of annoyed with the Hobbit for coming later, I guess.
Hmm. Okay. The when the original back in the 70s and early 80s when they made those animated cartoons, they did it in the correct order. The Hobbit came out first, then the Lord of the Rings. So um I only saw the Hobbit I do remember liking it as a kid. I have no idea how accurate it was to the original, but it was basically considered to be very very good by a lot of people. And then when they came out with the Lord of the Rings, I don't know if they came out with the entire book or all three books or not. I do remember watching the third one at the very least, called the Return of the King. And I do remember the story. The animation was much more inferior than the Hobbit, and I don't remember people really remembering that one as fondly as the other ones. So, um, if you have a chance, I mean, if you really like the movies, I would recommend watching, maybe taking some time and watching the 1978 Hobbit at the very least. I think you might like it. But like I said, it's been a while since I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't actually say how well I liked it, because I was very young at the time when I saw it. So my opinion might have changed over the years.
Right. I'll try to find it. I want to read the books eventually, but I'm, reading a lot of school books right now, so maybe this summer or something.
Okay. Now, the next two movies that you talked about, Talladega Nights and Pride and Prejudice. I've not seen either of those movies, so I can't say anything about that. Um, what would is Talladega Nights is a comedy, right?
Yes, Talladega Nights is a comedy. So Talladega, there's a Talladega Raceway, which is actually near Daytona, which is in Tampa, which is in Florida. I'm not sure where it is. Um, and it's definitely jabbing at race car drivers in America in a the best way. It's super super funny. Um, and actually, the actor Sacha Baron Cohen, I think his name is, he was in The Dictator, and the sequel, the subsequent movie film that just won. I think it won an Oscar. It might have. Um, and so he's really really funny, and he's outrageous, and he will do like anything for a laugh. So he's a great comedy actor, and he was also in it. He played a driver from F1, from the F1 circuit in Europe, um, and to challenge the main character Ricky Bobby in racing. So
So overall, how would you rate the movie?
I'd give that one a good 8 out of 10 for comedy movie, or for overall movie, and then like a 9 out of 10 for a comedy specific movie.
Is that Will Ferrell? That's Will Ferrell that's in that one. Is that correct?
Yeah, Will Ferrell and John C. Riley, the same two guys from Step Brothers.
Okay. So how do you feel about Will Ferrell? Some people say that they don't like his kind of sense of humor. How do you feel about him?
I love a sense of humor. It's kind of like it's childish, but it's not too well, yeah, it is ridiculous, but it that's why it's good, you know? I just think it's great.
Okay. I've only seen a couple of movies with him that I can think of. It was the News movie. Oh, I can't remember. It took place in the 1970s. Oh, I can't remember what the name of it was off the top of my head. But
Anchorman?
Anchorman. Yes, thank you. That's it. Anchorman. Yes, thank you. I did, and that was pretty good. The only other movie I can think of that I saw him in was the movie Land of the Lost, which was based on the 1970s TV show that had the same name. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not saying anything bad about him, but the whole movie was basically kind of mocked and ridiculed the show in a way. In some ways, you could tell that when it was written, it was very obvious that the people who wrote the show went back and did some research with the show, and they got things right, but they made it a comedy, whereas the original show was not a comedy. And so Will Ferrell comes in and basically does all his antics, and it kind of destroyed for me. It destroyed the original, because when I was a kid, I used to watch the original Lands of the Lost, and it was actually a pretty interesting show. It was like a show that was actually good for children and adults, and it had a lot of stuff, and it even had some writers from the original Star Trek that actually contributed to the stories that were written for the original TV show. So when they came out made it a comedy, and Will Ferrell's in there just going around, dancing around doing this silly stuff, it kind of ruined it for me. And so I don't want to see it again. But I kind of, in a way, I kind of blame Will Ferrell, even it's not his fault, for the fact that the movie was not what I wanted it to be. A lot of people actually don't like it either. So
That's understandable. I mean, if a show was meant to be or was originally like a drama or something, I definitely wouldn't want it to be a comedy unless it was done like perfectly. So it's definitely understandable. But he has done a more serious role, and he's done it very well, in my opinion. In the It's like a romantic movie, and it's not even really a romantic comedy. That's called Stranger Than Fiction. Um, and it has a few famous people in it. I forget all of their names except for Will Ferrell, conveniently. Um, but it was pretty good, and he played like a serious accountant or something, and he played it well. So I think
Okay,
it was definitely like the director telling him to be funny, you know.
I got you. I was just looking that up, Stranger Than Fiction. I just brought that up. So on IMDb here, oh, you're bringing that in. I've not seen that one or heard of it either. Unfortunately, just to let you know, when it comes to movies that were from like the early 2000s or almost late 1990s all the way to like about 2013, I was so engrossed with my career and starting my business and everything that I kind of didn't really pay attention to most of the movies that were out. So I'm still playing catch up on a lot of the movies from that era. So that's probably why I've never heard of this one. Was it pretty popular?
I actually just found it. I hadn't heard of it either.
Okay.
I found it, I think, probably like last month. On Netflix, I believe, or
Okay.
possibly Hulu. I'm not 100% sure which one, but one of those.
Gotcha. Now, how about Pride and Prejudice? What's that about?
Pride and Prejudice is it was a Jane Austen book that's like really really long, and I have not read it. But it was made into a movie, I think in 2008, and it has Keira Knightley in it, and she's like really really good at playing period roles, which is um, Victorian times or Edwardian times or something like that. And so it's basically it's just a classic love story where two people, they can't like quite find the right timing, and then they get together in the end, and it's really sweet. So
Is this it right here? I just brought up on the screen. Can you see that?
no, not
Oh,
that one.
not that one. Okay, let me go back for a second. Bring this up. That was 2003, so it was a little off. Let me see. Okay. Uh, let's see. I see. I don't see it. That's odd. Let me see. I don't. The only one that's from that era. I mean, so let me see more match. More titles. Maybe
It's
this one, 2000.
2000. It's 2005. But it's with
Could try that one.
directed by Joe Wright. Um,
This
with
is it right here. This is it. Here it is. Yep. Joe Wright
Yeah,
was the director. Yeah. So
yeah.
okay, cool. And how would you rate this one?
It's probably my favorite romantic movie. Um, it's acted in very, very well. Overall, I would say probably an 8 out of 10.
Oh,
They're all
okay.
all these ones are my favorite movies, so they're all going to have high ratings.
The I'm not really a big fan of romance movies, but I did see one. I do have one that I like a lot. Let's see if I can bring it up here for you. It's actually one I uh, it came out in the early 90s. This one, it actually came up in my suggestions on YouTube, so I watched it. Called The Cutting Edge. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. 1992.
I saw the ad on YouTube as well, but I have not seen it yet.
Okay, I would it's like I said, I'm not a big romance person movie myself, but this one I saw this one probably within a few years after it first came out, and I watched it again recently, and it still holds up really really well. So if you're looking for a good movie, I would highly recommend this one. So
Okay, I'll
the
check it out. I think it's
there's a
still free on YouTube. So
yeah, it has the character development is really good. They come across as really believable. Have you ever seen the TV show Lost?
no, I've not.
Okay, good. You don't want to do that because then one of the main characters in the show was also one of the main characters in Lost, and so when I rewatched it recently, I kept on making Lost references in my head. So if you haven't seen Lost, you won't go through that like I did. So
Yeah, that's actually like a common thing. Like when an actor does one role and he plays it like really, really well, sometimes that role just gets stuck in your head and then you can't kind of dissociate them from the role that you remember them from.
Right.
Kind of frustrating sometimes, understandable.
And the other movie you talked about was Shrek. So I
Yeah.
saw Shrek. I'm gonna bring that up right now. 2001, is that right? Yeah. Wow, has it been that long since it came out? Wow, I didn't realize it
You
was
know,
that
it's so weird. 20 years.
long. No, I do remember liking this movie a lot, but I don't remember when I saw it. I don't think I saw it at the theater when it first came out, but I do remember seeing it and actually liking it. How many sequels have there been so far? Has it been like three or something, or altogether? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
probably like four movies. I think there's Shrek 2, Shrek Forever After. No, wait, it must be Forever After, Shrek the Third.
yeah, I just brought out the list so you can take a look right here. Shrek 2, Shrek the Third, and then it says Shrek Forever After, and then there's a couple of smaller movies or films. So okay, so it is four. Is there four? Wow, I didn't know they came out with that many. Okay, yeah, I kind of lost interest after the first one, so I don't really know if I saw any of the sequels. Um, as far as the sequels go, have you seen them? Did you like them?
Yeah, I've actually seen all of them on the list, even like the smaller ones. They're all really, really funny. I think Mike Myers just does like a perfect job. All the characters do a perfect job for those. The second one is probably, I think if I had to pick a favorite, it would be the second one. It's with like this fairy godmother, and Shrek turns human, and Donkey turns human, and or Donkey turns into a horse, and they look really weird. And it's just really, really funny overall.
Oh, yeah, I definitely didn't see that one. I would have remembered that. Now, how do you feel going back to the first one? Now, the first one is your favorite, though, right? That's the one you like the best, though, right?
Yeah, I mean it's just the classic. It's perfect in every single way, and it continues to age like fine wine. It truly does. There's nothing. There's jokes for adults that are like secret jokes that are you won't get until you're older, and there's jokes for like everyone that'll to understand. So that's really good. It's overall really, really funny.
And how would you? I know your rating's going to be high. What rating would you give this one?
10 out of 10. I have to give Shrek a 10 out of 10.
Wow, that's the highest one you've given so far. Is this the? Would this be your favorite out of all the ones you listed? Or you talked about?
No, not necessarily. I think the ranking of like my favorites is it's a little different. I don't know how to explain it, but
Gotcha. The and as far as the comparison, how would you compare this to The Princess Bride? Because there are some similarities as far as the style or the general the genre or the era and the kind of um, fairy tale type way of doing things.
I have never compared the two actually. I didn't even notice that they were so similar because you're right, they are pretty similar. Um I don't think I can compare them. I think that wouldn't be right because they're both such perfect movies. I don't think it would be fair to try to compare them.
Gotcha. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good statement. I'd have to agree with you on that one. So now, there's one other thing that I want that you had told me about, and that was that you're very passionate about the environment. Would you like to discuss that?
Yeah, so I've been watching like nature documentaries since I could sit in front of a TV. My parents were the kind of parents that are like, I don't want you watching TV that'll rot your brain or anything. So since I grew up watching documentaries about nature, I've always loved them. And I've always loved like science classes, and I've taken a lot of environmental science and environmental policy classes. So learning about it is really, really fun. Um, and it's just really important to me because I love hiking and I love going to like national parks and really just admiring the beauty. And I feel like a lot of people, myself included, sometimes can forget how beautiful the earth is without it even giving us anything like monetary or anything physical that we can use. Like it's just beautiful for existing.
Hmm.
And then that, you kind of forget how much we impact it. I guess that's how I would sum it up. I don't know. It's hard to not go into super specific detail about anything, but
Now, as far as like the environment, have you ever seen? Just talking about the environment, what comes to mind is a movie that I've seen that I really like called Baraka. Have you ever seen that?
what was it called?
Baraka. I can actually bring it up. I have to be careful with copyright, but I'm going to try to bring it up here so you can see parts of it. It's for some reason it's on YouTube right now. It hasn't been it has not been taken down yet, which surprises me.
Interesting.
I'll bring it up here.
No,
Um,
I don't think I've seen it, but I have seen like all the David Attenborough ones, and then like my parents have Amazon Prime, so there's a lot of nature documentaries on there, and I've watched like as many as I can. Um, and then of course for school we've like had to watch mandatory ones. So
No, this isn't really like a documentary of sorts. This is more of a celebration of the world in general. And you get a lot of environmental imagery that's presented there. Another one that's very similar. I'm bringing it up right now as we speak. Is a movie called Koyaanisqatsi. Some of the people that worked on that also worked on Baraka. Koyaanisqatsi, there were a series of at least 3 movies, and Baraka there were 2 movies. The Koyaanisqatsi one came out in '82, and the Baraka movie came out in 1992, 10 years later. So there are at least 5 movies altogether, and there are a couple of smaller ones as well. But those are the 2 series. I'm going to bring it up here so you can take a look at this. Okay, I want to do it, but we can go through some of the images that are on here. The images on here are just brilliant. I don't know. It shows I forget how many countries they went through on this, but they went there was a lot, and it just basically it's a celebration of life and the environment and everything. I think that maybe if you saw this you might appreciate that, but based on what you're saying. But it's it came, like I said, it came out in 1992. It's I'm trying to see if I can find something here that will. Oh, here we go. Have to be careful. There are some actual naked people in here. I don't want to get in trouble with that. So you get like these really nice images of the world. The music in this, this is like a really strong part of the movie, but the score for this matches the imagery that's presented very very well. So if you got it, if you have a chance, I would highly recommend. This also came out at the time when the first Persian Gulf War occurred, so there's a lot of imagery of how bad things can be as well. So you can see this. Um, that was the actual fires that occurred. What was that? Saddam Hussein, I think, who ignited the oil wells after the United States came in to Kuwait. So it touches on a lot of different things. So.
yeah, that sounds like a really interesting movie. Sounds really intense.
Yeah. Um, and like I said, I can't remember the name of the sequel, but there's Ron Frick is the director, and I think he's the one that had a helping hand on the other one, the Koyaanisqatsi movies as well. So, um, now another topic you wanted to discuss was fear. Is that right?
Right. Yes.
So,
Um, hmm?
yeah. Well, go ahead and go ahead and discuss. Go ahead. And, what aspects of fear are you referring to?
Well, I thought about how I felt when like I first got the opportunity to be considered for the position. I thought I was gonna be only excited because this position is like really really awesome. But I was actually really scared as well. I never really thought about
What,
putting myself out there, and I
hold
think
on a
that
second.
really made me think about fear.
Can you hold on a second? Hold on. When you say the position, because I want to make sure everyone knows what you're talking about. You mean doing the talk show, what we're doing right now. So
Right.
yeah. So that I just to make sure that the viewers are up to speed with what you're referring to. So yeah, go ahead.
Right. So, and I just think that reflecting on that, I thought about how YouTubers and musicians and actors and anyone who really puts themselves out there on the internet just deserves so much more credit for being brave, because it's honestly like it's terrifying. But then I found this article called "Facing Your Fears: Reasons You're Scared to Start," by Scotty Russell, who writes, quote, "Putting yourself out there is a big deal, and don't let anyone tell you it isn't," unquote. So yeah, that's kind of what I thought about there.
So, as far as fear, I mean, how do you feel right now? Do you feel pretty comfortable with the conversation we're having?
Yeah, definitely a lot more comfortable with it.
Yeah, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty good. I will say I've been doing radio for a long time, and the very first time I had to do a live show. Interestingly enough, it wasn't. This is before the internet was really a thing at all. So it was on a public access radio station, not a commercial radio station, but a public access station. And I was so terrified that I didn't know how to handle it, and I was so nervous for the entire show, and I started stumbling and messing up my speech. Not that's a common thing for me anyway, but more so than usual. And what was funny is we did the first show for the first time. My friend was there with me. He was pretty calm. Afterwards, we came back. We were able to do another. Everyone had already left. It was like a test, basically a test to make sure that we could do it correctly. So all the other people that were there with us had left, but there was no one on the air on the radio. When I say public access, it wasn't actually over the airwaves. It was actually broadcast over a cable system in Virginia. And so with everyone gone, we went in one more time, and the second time I did it, which was like an hour later, I was actually very comfortable and very relaxed. I didn't feel nervous at all. So I kind of wish I just felt that way the whole time, but I was extremely on edge when that happened. So I can relate to that feeling. But for me, the very first time, I was nervous for the entire first hour, and it wouldn't go away until we finally just I walked out and just came back in, and I was able to calm down, and everything was good after that. So
There's one interesting technique that I learned for calming down and for like easing your anxiety. It's like a breathing technique, but it literally starts, I guess, a calming effect in your brain. And the way that you remember it is like the plane 747. So you breathe in deeply for 7 seconds, you hold it for 4, and then you breathe out for 7, and then you hold it for 4, and you do that until you kind of start to feel calmer. And I didn't think it would work, but it works every time.
right, describe that again. Tell me that one more time. I'm sorry, I missed something in that. How do you do that again?
So you breathe in for 7 seconds, you
Hmm.
hold it for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 7 seconds, and you hold it for 4. And it's the 747 like
Oh,
plane that you used to remember it.
I gotcha. Wow, really? That's interesting. I'll have to remember that, because even though I've been doing on air stuff for a lot since then, every once in a while when I come on to do something new, I do get on edge, and I have to calm myself down. So I'll have to remember that technique.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of takes a bit of concentration just because you kind of have to really think about, counting. So there might be a lull in the speaking to the podcast, but I think it would work.
Now, yeah, the podcast. I was a little nervous the first time I did this with Anne, the person I did this with originally a few months ago. The very first time we did it together, I was nervous. Also because I had met her for the first time, and Ann Marson she's a professional dancer, and I had contacted her. I didn't expect her to respond to me. She was a star in an independent movie that came out about 10 years ago, and the fact that she responded to me and said that she was willing to go on and do the show actually intensified my anxiety the first time I did it. So it was going live and doing a talk show that I had not done in a long time, plus the fact that I was actually talking to somebody who I didn't expect to actually return my email in the first place. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would be nervous too. I remember the first time that I sold one of my paintings was a few months ago. And even though it was to a friend of mine, I was really, really nervous. I didn't think I was going to be nervous just because, I mean, I've been painting forever, but I've never done it as a commission. And so the first time I did it, I mean, I kept thinking, oh gosh, what if she doesn't like this? What if she doesn't like this color? So I think just doing anything for the first time for humans is just like nerve-wracking.
Hmm. So how did that go? Did everything go well with that?
Yeah, she loved it. She has it in her room. She hung it up, I think, next to her bed. So that's good.
Oh, okay. Did she compliment you? Did she say she actually liked it? How did that go?
Yeah, she loved it. I had done a smaller one like it, so I think she like partially knew that she was gonna love it. And this one was just a bit bigger.
Hmm.
So yeah, she really really liked it.
That's awesome. Have you thought about exploring that even further? Doing painting as a living?
I would love to, but honestly, being a starving artist and like actually being starving, it's not on my agenda because at the end of the day, I think I could produce paintings at a high rate to get enough money, but then I think they just wouldn't be as good because if I kind of force myself to be inspired and force myself to paint, it's just not as good. It doesn't turn out as well as it could.
I get you.
And
Yeah,
I just couldn't send a painting out knowing that I could do it better.
right. Yeah, you want to have the desire to do it rather than just the need to get the money to pay your bills. In a sense.
Right.
Right. It's
But it
cool.
can be a hobby with graphic design. So
As far as the graphic design, how is that going? Is that something you're definitely going to pursue? Do you think?
yeah, graphic design kind of comes easy to me just because I do have such an extensive art background. And then designing on a computer. I mean, when I was little, I would draw on MS Paint. So it's not really graphic design, but I do have, that small experience. And I've done the Adobe Creative Suite for a year, which is uh, what like the main studio for graphic designers. So
That's pretty cool. You're gonna laugh at me, but I still use the old Microsoft Paint, the original one from Windows XP from 2000 whatever. Whenever I build I build the computers that I run for my business. So I actually, whenever I build a new computer, I transfer the old programs off of Windows XP and put them on my Windows 10 or in Windows 7 computers. So I use the actual Windows Paint from way back in the day. So
I definitely wouldn't judge you for that, just because the only reason that I can use the Adobe Premiere Studio or the Adobe Creative Suite is because my college provides it to me. So that's really the only reason that I can afford to use that.
is there any way? Can we see any of the? Do you have anything online that we could look at as far as what you've done?
Well, none of it will make sense. I'm not gonna lie, just because they're all like assignments. So there's not really going to be any background information to them, and also it would take kind of like a lot of computer power to bring them up. Also, not
I
gonna
got
lie.
you. How about like your general artistry, like just like anything, just in art in general? Do you have anything that you show publicly?
I can try to find one. I do have an art Instagram that has, all my art on it. Um, but I can try to find pictures as well.
If
The
you'd like,
art Instagram is, let me actually, I think it's just my last name, Lawton.art.
art. Let me see if I can bring
Yep,
that
that's
up.
all. And that has all my stuff.
A
Well,
second.
some of it. My
Is there
good
anything?
stuff. That has my good stuff.
There's nothing on there that would be you want. It's okay if we see anything that's on there, correct? So if we were to bring that up,
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right, here we go. I think I got it here. Looks good. Looks good. Here we go. And where are we at? There we go. Is this it?
Yeah.
There we go. The anything in particular you'd like to show us or talk about?
The purple and brown eye, the one above the first one, above that one.
Above the one. Okay, this one.
That one is the one that I commissioned, and it's
Oh,
actually
yeah. I have to create an account, I guess. Okay.
that one's actually 3D. So is the one below it. I used sculpting paint, which was really, really interesting because I had never used it before doing that. Um, but it's exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to add, I don't know if you can see it very well, but I wanted to add bumps to below the eye to make it more tired looking. And then I did this sort of fading out of the pinkish paint from the edges into the center to make it again more tired looking. And then on the lines that shoot out from the pupil, I put a little bit of gold. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I see. The lines you're saying to make it tired. Where are those again? I'm trying to see where those are.
Each of the like the semicircles coming off of the main like eyelid sort of thing.
Okay. Okay. Like as you get further away in the what is that, like a bluish purplish area? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, those. Yeah,
I got
it's
you. I see.
kind of hard to see from there, but they are multidimensional.
Gotcha. Anything else you'd like to point out on these?
I think if you scroll up a little bit,
Go up. Okay.
I did get featured in Juiced magazine as
What,
one of the like the artists there that made some of the background art, and they edited a little bit. So that was really exciting. And then next to that, I edited my friend's picture. There was a truck and a person, I think, behind her in that one, and I edited them out, and it made it look like the street.
the black and white one? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those are like the most recent ones I've done.
Could you explain what Juiced is? Because I've never heard of that.
It's kind of just a zine. They call it a zine, but I guess it's a full-on magazine. It talks about everything from like social issues to artists, and they try to feature small artists in all their magazines to like boost them. They just started, I think there's only like 4 or 5 editions out right now. But yeah, there's a lot of zines actually starting on Instagram right now, which is interesting.
Anything else you'd like to point out here? These look pretty interesting. I really do look pretty cool.
Thank you. Those were some of the smaller ones. They're like literally tiny. But interestingly enough, someone bought like all of them.
Oh, really?
Which is cool. But if you scroll up a little bit,
Oh, okay.
I really do like painting eyes. I think that's probably my favorite thing to do. That one with the green background, the eye with the green background, it barely looks like an eye, but it has like electricity in it, and it's supposed to be, I think I had just watched Thor, honestly, and I think that's really fun. And then the one above that is a bit more of a psychedelic eyeball. I did not think I was going to go in that direction, but I did, and I think it turned out really, really well.
So when you sell your paintings, do you ever regret giving away something that you've created?
Not really. I feel like they're like, I have pictures of them, and I don't really make paintings for the end product. I just do it for the feeling that I get when I'm painting, which might sound a bit odd, but the end product is like a fun bonus for the feeling of painting.
Okay. Cool. This is really cool. What I'll do is I'll post it, if it's okay with you. I'll post this in the description of the video so people can look at it.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Cool.
Thank you.
And is there anything else that you are doing that you'd like to promote at this point? Any other social media accounts that you'd like people to see?
Not for right now. I don't have like any other things that I'm selling or anything. So.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and wrap everything up. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
Thanks for having me on the show. And thanks everyone for listening. That's kind of it.
Okay, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoy the conversation we've had. And maybe we can do it again. And thanks everyone for being on. And everyone that's watching, I'll see you next time. Thanks again. And Olivia, hang on there.
Okay.